What's going on, everybody? This is Travis Witherspoon from Carter Cow Capital, helping you fight for your financial freedom throughout the forex market. This is another evening episode of Trade with Travis, night session where what we end up doing is taking a look at the trades that we end up taking earlier throughout the day and being able to evaluate how well, how poorly we end up doing when it came down to those trades. Also, being able to check and see if there's any type of activity that we can be able to get into tonight. Obviously, because it is the Asian session, you would like to be able to take a look at some Japanese yen pairs. I would love to be able to take a look at some and see if there's any activity in those. That includes being able to take a look at what's happening with the Australian dollar and possibly New Zealand dollar when it comes down to those movements. Other than that, obviously, we'll take a look at if there's any type of activity when it comes down to index pairs. Forex pairs probably will be a little bit slower just because it's the nighttime as we end up going from there. So please make sure that you end up having your ideas ready. Please make sure that you end up saying who you are and chatting with me. I love being able to talk. I love the community that we basically started to build a little bit, 500 and something strong, and in a very short amount of time, and I'm very proud of that. And hopefully, each and every person that is a subscriber is, I guess, a follower, will end up being has been profitable with us and what we end up doing. And the more ideas that are brought to everybody's attention, the better opportunity that we can be able to find and evaluate what's going to end up being the best trade compared to being compared to just jumping into something. So here we go. I have 9 o'clock now. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or to sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from the education, please it'll help you make your own informed decision. I understand that trading involves risks. It involves risks of being able to make money, also involves risks of being able to lose money. So please keep that in mind and understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it's not promised that you're going to end up making money today. So as you end up popping in and being able to say hey and everything goes like that, make sure that you end up saying who you are inside of the live chat. Shout out where you're from. It's always cool to be able to see where everybody is. Obviously, I'm in the States. It is 2100 hours right now for us, or 9 p.m. And it's always cool to be able to see what time everybody else is taking a look at this. Some people it's in the morning. Some people it's late at night, kind of like where we are when it comes down to that. So, with that being said, let's talk about what end up happening tonight. Obviously, when it came down to the trading and what is on the horizon going into everything else. So essentially what we end up having earlier today, we end up having the Eurozone the Eurozone end up having a HICP. What is that? Oh, a sentiment. Okay, basically just talking about what's happening with the inflation preview or inflation. Cool. I ended up saying something about that earlier this morning. I didn't know what it was, and I just wanted to kind of figure out what it was so I can be able to at least be able to talk about it right. Um, then after that, we end up having ADP unemployment change for the United States dollar actually end up being negative. And then after that, we end up having a GDP for the Canadian dollar, and that actually ended up being negative as well. We started looking at and seeing if there was any type of activity that we can be able to get into. We talked about US CAD for as a overall opportunity. I did not trade that one, but I would like to see how well it ended up doing. Um, and we'll go from there. Now, tomorrow, what we're going to end up seeing is this. Earlier during the morning, we're going to see Germany have their retail sales. It's expected to be a negative 6.5, which was better than the previous month, but obviously it's still in the negative. So we'll kind of take a look at that. And then after that, we end up having ISM, manufacturing PMIs for the United States dollar or United States, in which it's expected to be 52. So a little bit off from where it was before, but hopefully a little bit better down the line. Now, with that being said, let's talk about the trades that we end up taking. The biggest one that I end up having today, at least for right now, was the German 40. We end up talking about this, and I end up saying, hey, I asked y'all, what did y'all end up noticing when I end up taking off the charts? And I'm gonna do it exactly how I end up talking about it earlier this morning. I was like, what did y'all notice? And I was like, there was a downward channel because you end up seeing this top, and that top all be in the same trend line, and you can see the bottom have the same type of trend movement. So what I was saying was I wanted to be able to look and be able to take a sale in this overall area. If we end up having a counter trend line break, it'll probably end up being another one to where you could be able to add on to that. But obviously we had a resistance that we could be able to work off of. And I expected that the market, if it kept on doing that, would kind of trend to the downside and be able to touch down here at the bottom somewhere. So what we ended up doing was end up taking that trade right at the top of that overall movement. Once it proved that it was ready to be able to go down, we caught it on this candlestick after I seen that the sellers started to be able to take the head off of that overall move at the top side. So I was very much good with being able to take that trade. End up taking it all the way down. I had a risk reward factor of 1 to 7.2. Currently, right now, I end up taking some out at the halfway point. Then after that, I've seen the market start to fall down from there. It doesn't look like it's probably going to end up hitting my take profit. So I'm actually going to take profit right now on that second trade. The first trade ended up bringing up 23.25 when it came down to that move. The second trade ended up bringing in 200 based off of that move. Let's see. That was these two trades right here. They end up happening based off of that movement. So end up making profit off of that. I'm glad to be able to do that. Obviously went 3 for 3 today, which was cool. Obviously sometimes that just doesn't happen because sometimes one setup may not necessarily be there, but end up making money off of that move and being able to go from there. The next trade that we end up talking about was US 30. And we end up having we end up talking about this a little bit on the after hour side, but essentially the trade was we seen that the market start to build this consolidation. And the first thing that I ended up saying to the people that's in our Carter Cal Academy was that if the market ended up rejecting this overall top right here, it was at 31,975. I was like, if it rejected that, then I'll be interested in being able to place in the sale at the bottom of the high volume node. And that's exactly, once again, what ended up happening. Market ended up tapping it, basically put it right back at the halfway point. Then after that started to fall. Ended up taking profit off of that move as well. Let's see which one was that. That was, we ended up taking a trade at 31,685 with a stop loss of 31,399. 31,399 and a take profit of 31,360. So the trap profit actually ended up catching that one. But same deal, we ended up catching it right at the low of this overall move, right when the market ended up breaking past. We did it at 685 just to be careful when it came down to that. Stop loss was at 31,360. Nope, let me say that over again. Oh, it updated the stop loss. But the stop loss was above the overall point of control. Take profit. I did a long, didn't I? Let me look at mirror with that. No, I did that right. Okay, so it was right up here. Take profit was at 31,360. Market ended up hitting that one, market ended up hitting my trap profit point, and then after that, basically took it home at 31,390. That's what it ended up getting out at. But that one actually ended up being a $2,000 winner as well. Once again, that was a trade that we ended up talking about. It was like, hey, if it sets up, you're going to end up having that position that you're going to end up being able to get into, because we end up having this high volume node that was, or kind of a medium volume node. I'm not going to say high volume node because it wasn't necessarily sticking all the way out when it came down to how big it actually was when it came down to the profile. But we end up having this biggest point right here, and I end up saying if it end up breaking below that, then you'll probably end up having a good chance to be able to see that the market was going to fall down. Now, the question was, where would it fall down? Obviously, you always get that answer off of being able to take a look at what's happening with the high volume node. The next high volume node that ended up sticking out was where we end up getting out before everybody else did. I don't know what the move is going to end up being after that. May end up popping up, may end up not, but it doesn't matter because we end up getting out of the trade very freely based off of end up having one full day of consolidation where the market end up pushing up maybe 300 points, and literally we end up getting almost 300 points on the downside move in a few hours compared to the 2 days that it caused consolidation. So once again, that's the vortex strategy. We end up talking about this. I talk about bits and pieces about it all the time. If you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more, and if you're watching this live chat, please make sure that you end up typing in me and placing in an email so I can be able to get in contact with you and show you exactly what we end up doing. It's a free webinar. You don't have to pay for anything when it comes down to that. It just gives you an opportunity to be able to see what we end up doing from that strategy. But end up hitting that one. The last one that I ended up taking a look at, we go based off of what we end up doing off of NAS. NAS on Monday, we end up placing in a pending sale order at 12,380 and 12,390. And then after that, we end up talking about another one at 12,440, where the market ended up having its first little breakout of that big peak of movement. For the people that end up getting into this trade, that end up happening on, if today's Monday, they end up happening on Monday when those trades end up kicking in. Obviously, we had to wait a little bit with that continuation type of move based off of the market just showing a little bit, or basically pushing up on the trend line. Then after that, giving us a strong counter trend line break. Remember, whenever there's a breakout, they end up being a retest. There goes your breakout. There goes your retest. Market end up falling down. End up taking everybody out with profit on double on those trades. Some people triple on those trades. So congratulations for everybody end up getting into that trade as well. That was a pretty sneaky one on the way that it was moving, but it gave a great breakout and a retest chance to be able to get into that trade twice. And obviously we end up having the movement from the vortex and when the market ended up breaking to the downside. So once again, super excited for everybody to end up doing that one as well. And then after that, we end up having XPX 500. XPX 500 was a pair that we ended up talking about very briefly, but it was the same deal. I ended up saying if the market ended up pushing up and retesting in this area right around 4,015, if the market ended up rejecting that, then I wanted to be able to place in a trade right at the low, right at the edge of that low volume node. Market ended up breaking out to the downside. Remember, this one ended up having 3 days of consolidation as well. And remember, when you end up having that build up of consolidation, the more days that they end up taking, the bigger the drop is going to end up being. And currently, right now, we're actually still active on this trade. So there may end up being another opportunity of being able to get back in. If you take a look at it get in, you take a look at it from an hourly perspective, we end up having 2 trades. The first trade take profit is at 38.50, and we end up entering at 39.67, and currently right now the market's in that move as we speak. So take profit position. Once again, you take a look at the previous history. The previous history will tell you exactly where you want to be able to go or where you want to be able to get out at. We end up saying 38.50 just to be safe and kind of get out before this next high volume node starts to be able to move. So that's the current move that we're in. Once again, that was the Carter Cow Academy group that actually ended up getting that trade because they're part of the signals and everything else, and obviously the course. So once again, if you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more information about that, obviously just contact me, and we'll go from there. So that was all 4 trades that were taken from the index pairs. Ended up going 4 for 4 when it came down to those moves. The last pair that I ended up talking about was actually US CAD. So we'll go over US CAD real quick, and actually it was US CAD and I think US yen, but I didn't take the US yen trade. But bam, there it goes. It ended up hitting daily day extension. I think that was Juan that ended up bringing that up and talking about that trade. I think he ended up getting into that. So congrats to him if he did. We'll just talk about this one real quick. Essentially, what I ended up saying was market ended up pushing up after being in this consolidation, had a big breakout, consolidated once again. Literally, we talk about this motion all of the time, or that movement all of the time. So there goes your consolidation, and that was based off an hour. So Lord knows how many days it actually was. I wish I could put period separators on this, but I don't know how to do it yet. Not on this pair. Then after that, we end up having this strong movement. And then from there, it basically went into consolidation again and then pushed right back out. Once it ended up breaking out of that area, it ended up closing out on that the extension at 139.23. So it gave you a couple opportunities to be able to get into it. And for the people that end up getting into it, like Juan, I think there you go. Take profit and based off of hitting that. US CAD, we end up talking about looking at taking a buy off of this one as well. Pull it up. Let's see. There goes the US yen trade. US CAD. Miss my lines. What happened to my lines? Hmm. Uh, okay, I'm kind of mad that it doesn't show where I end up talking about this goddamn on trade. Let's see. Nope. Okay. Well, either way, what ended up happening was I can remember it based off of the 2 hour. We ended up saying a little bit earlier that we took a look at it from a 2 hour perspective. We ended up placing the fibs right here. And then from there, what we ended up saying was this market, because it was in an upwards channel, and I'm going to zoom out so everybody can be able to see it. Oh, there it is. Perfect. Because we're seeing that it's in an upwards channel and it's moving close to the resistance. Typically, you don't trade inside the channel, but when you end up taking a look at it from a weekly perspective, it means that it still has a lot more position to be able to get into. We were talking about trying to get out right at the 1 hour D extension, which was very close, or which is still very close to the top of this channel. Or the resistance of that channel. So what we end up saying was on a 2 hour on a 2 hour perspective, and being able to take a look at that trade again. When the market gave this counter trend line break right here, we end up saying go ahead and take the entry. Based off of that entry, we end up saying that you can be able to place your stop loss in 2 different positions. If I remember this right. You can either place your stop loss, it was either right below this low right here, or right below this low right there. So right when the market ended up, matter of fact, no, it wasn't. It was this one right here. And when the market ended up pushing up, we were looking at it right here. So I ended up saying, okay, you can either place your stop loss at the low right there or the stop loss of the swing low when the market ended up happening. The take profit and the risk were pretty much the same. It was like 70 to 70, and then after that, it was like 23 to 82 when it came down to that pop move. In this case, market ended up pushing up without any hesitation. Currently, right now, the market is still close to being able to hit the extension. If you're not in this pair, you might want to consider it based off of a 15-minute counter trend line break. And seeing if you can be able to get that. We can see that the market is starting to U-turn a little bit. So there may be some opportunity to be able to possibly get in if that does happen from there. So that was the 5 trades we ended up taking a look at from those positions. Ended up going 4 for 4 on everything. Currently, right now, the only trade that we're still in currently is what's happening with XPX 500. Now, XPX 500 is typically slow. So you end up having a little bit of a U-turn and everything else from that end. And once again, typically what I end up saying is if you feel like the market is going to end up getting away from you, you can be able to look at being able to get out of that move, take the profit, and then wait for the market to be able to give you a continuation type of move, whether if it's a counter trend line break or anything else like that after the market has made a little bit of a retracement. So as I'm looking at it off the 15-minute, we can see that the market has broken the counter trend line break to the upside. Currently, the 2 pairs that I'm in have me up right around 490. The last time I took a look at it, it was like right around 700. So I think I might consider going ahead and just taking at least one of these or both of these, and then waiting for the market to be able to give us another opportunity to be able to get in. Um, let's see, because there's a gap that has to be filled on DAX. I think that it's possibly going to push back up. I'm going to take both of these, and then after that, I just wait to see if I can be able to get another opportunity. So once again, 4 for 4. Just took profit on it. End up doing $342 on one, $152 on the other one. So happy about that. Waiting for a counter trend line break to be able to push up again. If there's an opportunity for us to be able to get in, especially if the 15-minute is in the sell zone, I'll be waiting for this. I do it once per bar, and then XPX counter trend line sale. And be able to go from there. So if you're not in, this may be an opportunity to possibly be able to get in if this market gives us a counter trend line break and be able to make a movement from there. Now, while it's just kind of, you look at all these pairs are basically doing the same thing at this particular point. Take a look at what ended up happening with DAX. We ended up showing that channel um, to the downside, and currently right now we're kind of getting the same thing from XPX in its own little way. Let's see. So here from here to here. And that's the reason why the market ended up popping up, basically because of that movement right there. So it makes a little bit more sense now why it ended up making that movement like that. And so maybe this might be a big push and trying to get back up here to the top and then seeing if it rejects again, which will give us a higher price to be able to get in for it being able to make the sale. Or it may end up pushing to the halfway point and doing the same thing and just falling. So either way, I would like that, or I would like this type of movement to be able to happen before getting back into it. But if that does, obviously I can be able to take a look at it or be able to have an alert to be able to place in, so everything can be shown at that particular point in time. That's not the most formidable color for that. Let's go black. So questions from anybody, if there's anybody out there that's taking a look at this, if you are watching live, if there are any questions that you have, don't hesitate to ask. There's no bad questions when it comes down to trading as a community, obviously. We end up going from there. So that's two moves that I'm looking at. Rios, what's going on? Hope everything's going well with you. I think it's the first time I done seen you pop in on Trade with Travis sessions. Hopefully everything's going well with you. Do you have any questions about this one, or do you have a question about a pair that you may be interested in looking at or trying to sell or trying to trade? Let's see. Okay. Guess not. So while we do that, and while we're going through everything, this will probably be a good chance to be able to see what's happening with the Japanese yen and Australian dollar. Give us the opportunity to be able to take a look at that and see how that's kind of reacting. What happened to my screen? Oh, that looks. Oh, how can I say that looks weird? Okay. Can you tell me what's happening with Ethereum? Absolutely. Matter of fact, we can go and take a look at that now. So answer this question. Do you want to take a look at Bitcoin first to see how it correlates with Ethereum, or do you just want to talk about Ethereum first? I'll wait on your answer before I click on one. Once again, do you want me to take a look at Bitcoin first to be able to kind of give you a correlation with that, or do you just want me to take a look at Ethereum? Okay, so we'll take a look at Bitcoin first, and then after that, we'll correlate it to what's happening with Ethereum. All right, so now answer this question: are you in and you're looking at buying? Are you in and you're looking at selling? Or are you not in? You're just looking at being able to find a position. Okay, I'm gonna assume. Okay, okay, cool. So that means that you can obviously pick your spots. So I'm going to assume that you're not in at this particular point in time from a futures perspective. So with that being said, if you notice, we end up having these two high volume nodes, and both high volume nodes, the market end up showing consolidation. That's a part of the strategy that I end up talking about all the time. Um, but as we're in this consolidation, all we're doing is this building up inside of this area. So the quick answer to your question before I kind of truly explain where I think it's going to go is that I wouldn't do anything right now for Bitcoin, and probably going to end up being the same for Ethereum. But currently, right now, we've been in 5 days of overall consolidation. When it comes down to Bitcoin, if the market ends up breaking to the top side. Um, I would look at being able to enter in right around 12,395. So you can say 12,400 for a overall buy if that market ends up making that movement. And let's say if the market continues to be able to fall, then the natural support will end up being at 19,800. So I end up having a 19,800 sale pending order placed in as well. And by being able to have both of those in at the same time, essentially what you're doing is you're saying that, hey, I don't want to play in the middle with everybody else, and I don't want to sit up there and stay in this pair for a long time, just kind of hoping what the position's going to end up being. Let everybody else fight it out, and by letting everybody else fight it out, essentially what you're going to do is get in with the winning team. Um, and whatever that winning team is, it doesn't matter. The whole purpose that you're trying to be able to do, just like I am, is saying, hey, I'm trying to make money. I don't care about where it's going to end up going. I just want to be able to make money off the movement when it makes that move. So if it does break to the upside, essentially what it will do is fall back inside of this same low volume node or vortex area that we end up talking about all of the time. So I would use that past history to be able to tell you that more than likely, if it breaks 20 2385, it's probably going to go back up to right around that 2900 20,900 area will end up being. So that would be my buy order that I would look at. Now stop loss varies depending on how conservative you are, how aggressive you are. You can place your stop loss below the overall low of the support and allow it to be able to ride up there. Now, your risk would be a lot more when it comes down to doing that, or you could be able to place it right below the consolidation's second lowest point of control, which will end up being 20,180. So it'll give you a better risk reward factor when it comes down to that. Typically, in most moves, I end up going with that route. So from here to here, stop loss will end up being right there. So you're talking about a risk reward factor of 1 to 3. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I didn't bring that down. Be right there. So a risk reward factor of 1 to 2.5 when it comes down to that upside move. Now, if it breaks to the downside, obviously, I think that you end up having a better. I think everybody, not everybody, because obviously there's people that are still in for long-term investing, but for people that are doing futures that really don't care about staying in as long as possible, this could fall all the way back to the natural support, which is at 18,920. And if that does happen, you have a bigger breakout move that you can be able to go after when it comes down to that. So essentially, from looking at being able to sell short, obviously it'd be at 19,800, like we end up talking about. Same rule applies. Stop loss would be below, or stop loss would be just above the previous point of control. And then after that, take profit would end up being somewhere down there. So you got a risk reward factor 1 to 3.3 when it comes down to both moves. And the best part about it is you didn't have to fight with anybody when it came down to the market being in consolidation. All I want to do is be with the winning team. I don't care what winning team it actually is. But once it breaks out, I'll be ready to be able to trade when the market makes that move. So the potential movement from both of those will end up being from there to there, and from here to here. That could potentially happen. Now, type in a while, yes, if that makes sense from a Bitcoin perspective, because I'm going to correlate that to what's happening with Ethereum. You're saying 18.5? That's what you believe? Let's see what 18.5 at. I mean, I can see that you can make a point for that. Go to the weekly. I can see that. I can see making a point for that. Me personally, I would get into it with the thought process of not trying to fight with anybody. So me trying to squeeze out. Oh, so that's possibly. Oh, you're asking a question. So there's possibly a touch and strong support um, at 18.5. Okay, now I get what you're saying. Yes, possibly, but I think the better support number will probably end up being where I end up saying to take profit was going to end up being. I think that's what a first support will end up being, and then after that, possibly the second support would be at 18.5. Yes. Okay, I understand your question now. 18.900 will probably end up being where you end up seeing the first support at. But I'm trading. I'm looking at the volume breakout of it. I'm not looking at being able to buy and trying to catch it when it pops back up at that level. I could care less about that, me personally. Because at the end of the day, if you end up doing that, you're trying to guess when it does. You're trying to guess when it makes a U-turn. And if you're trying to guess when a U-turn is, I mean, there could be a possibility that you could be wrong on that as well. But there's no reason to not at least being able to try. Obviously. Got it. All right, you're welcome. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about how that correlates with Ethereum real quick. So, well, there you go. You got to trade. You got to trade ID out of that. There we go. Going to Ethereum. Let's see. We go to the daily perspective. The market ended up pushing all the way up to the 382. We end up talking about previously where the market ended up having this strong resistance or pivot level where the market basically ended up being support on one end and resistance on the other end. In this case, it actually ended up being resistance right around the 1900 level. Once it ended up breaking the resistance on the level, what's going on, Steve? Hey, Travis, I guess the general sentiment of the market is the market's going down. Yes, it's been that way for a while. Obviously, when we talk about inflation was the biggest thing, more than anything else, and inflation is going to have to drive the market down so people can be able to find values on. Yes, I'm talking about the stock market. I'm talking exactly about the stock market, but you got to think about it. If it's going to happen in the stock market, it's going to happen in the cryptocurrency market. It's going to end up happening in you'll possibly start to see gold to start making a move back up at some point in time because the fear of it. But the United States dollar is showing to be strong, at least at this particular point. And as long as it remains to be strong, then people are going to keep on buying it. But when it starts to get weak, obviously now you're going to end up talking about getting back into gold again. But currently, right now, yes, I remember we ended up talking about. I want to say not in the last session, but the session before that, that all trades are basically in transition trades. And with those transition trades, you're talking about at least 3 to 4 months. I'm sorry, 2 to 4 months of overall downside movement that could possibly end up happening. We're seeing the beginning of it. All right, so go with Ethereum consolidation. Market ended up breaking out to the downside. Obviously, once it broke down to this overall level to 11,093 or 1193, there goes that alert. All right, so I'm gonna get back in on XPX 500. Taking a short, going to be an instant trade. Stop loss. Come on, come on, come on. Hurry up now. Oh, there we go. Stop loss is going to end up being above the. It's going to end up being above the top of the channel. So I'm going to end up saying we can go just about 39.50. Well, let's say 39.47 as a stop. Take profit. Jeez, don't do that. Lock that. Take profit is 38.50. So stop loss is going to be 39.47. 39.47. 39.47. Take profit 38.50. This one, easily I'll probably go maybe for I'll probably go with a I'll probably go 3% on the trade. All right, that one's locked in. So there we go. Trade this triggered in on XPX 500. Here goes your entry. There goes your stop loss. Take profit is 38.50. So we got back in. We got an opportunity to get back in. And we talked about whenever it was going to end up happening. Well, it's going to happen at this first move or the second move. It basically happened just now. So there we go. Good to go. I'm kind of happy that happened. Hopefully, probably might end up seeing the same things with a couple of these other trades, and hopefully get some more alerts off of those movements. Going back to Ethereum real quick. Have that consolidation box. Fell down to support, went right back inside of this, went right back inside of that over vortex area, and then started to push back up. Since then, market ended up doing a continuation trade with the broken counter trend line break, and it's currently moving right now. So the question is, just like anything, where's it going to end up going? What's the better opportunity in being able to get into it? And go from there. Because market is just below the had hit the point of control and is below the highest peak of that volume node. If the market ends up breaking a counter trend line break off of a 15-minute with RIS, then I would look at being able to get into a trade off of that. The question would be, where would you get out? If we're shorting it, target will end up being right here. Target will end up being 12.15. Risk will end up being wherever the highest high is at that particular point. The highest high is right here, or if you want to place it right above the high volume node to be safe, you could say 1670. So you got a risk reward factor of 1 to 1.93. Don't like that. I typically like it a little bit higher. Try to be a little bit more. We'll say 1655. 1655. I'll look at being able to short if it's based off of the counter trend line break. But the take profit end up being 12.15. So wherever it ends up making that move at, that would be the position that I would look at being able to do for shorting it. Now, more than likely, the better position if you, well, it'll be not more than a scalp if you end up doing that. A safe bet, if it has the momentum, will end up saying that if it drops down below 1450, then it will end up hitting 12.15. But your stop loss will have to be a little bit tighter from there, or above whatever point of control it was. So I would end up saying like 1508 with an entry of 1450 with a take profit of 12.15. Yes, you could. Kind of going back to what I ended up saying before. You take a look at what's happening with the 15-minute, and there we go. Consolidation once again. Hold on, let me undo do this. I'm gonna lock it. That's kind of making it very simple for you. Let's see. I'm gonna count this as that. There is your support. You could short it. I would not short it now. I would short it when and if the market ends up breaking below 1528. Market ends up breaking below 1528, then that's when I would look at shorting it. So there you go. There goes the pending order right there. Because you already know what the stop loss is going to end up being. 1657. So um, entry, I'm going to do black because it's not necessarily going to end up being shown as much if I do a different color. But yeah, there we go. I would take in the entry right around that area. And that gives you a better risk reward factor as well. Hey man, thank you. I use y'all to be able to help me out and being able to make money as well. So any trade that I end up putting up or putting out here, I'm going to end up looking at being able to take advantage of it myself. So it's always good to be able to pick everybody's brain when it comes down to that because obviously you want to be able to win. I think everybody wants to be able to win. So the only way that you can be able to do that is by basically collectively putting ideas out there and being able to see what sticks. But do me a favor. If we make money off of this one together, bring another one to me. Yeah, if we make money off of this one, bring another one to me, please. Make sure I end up writing this down real quick. 1528. Short. 1528 stop loss. 1652 take profit. 1215. Okay. I'm gonna update that a little bit later. There we go. All right. Anybody else? Anybody else with an idea? If not, we've been talking for over 45 minutes, so there's nothing else, then we end up going from there. But once again, if you want to be able to place in some orders, be able to look at some opportunities, and be able to kind of see if we can make some money together off the market when it comes down to these ideas. Obviously, um, we can be able to. Obviously, you end up talking about it, we can be able to talk about it, or you end up bringing it up, we can be able to talk about it. I'm gonna go back and show the one on. I'm gonna go back and show the one on Bitcoin, and then after that, I'm going to go back to XPX 500. Currently, XPX 500 is a little bit down right now. We'll take a look and see if the market ends up breaking or you turning on that counter trend line break. If it did, might just make an early exit. But we end up seeing that. So before we get out of here, and also if you end up liking what we're doing, click on that boost button. Obviously, the more people to click on the boost button, it makes it a little bit easier for people to be able to see what we're doing on an everyday basis. Try to do this at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then after that, also try to do it at nine, obviously now, but take a look at it. Bitcoin, we end up having two orders. First order was pending buy at 20,400. Stop loss on this one was 20,180, and take profit was at 20,970. Bought an EV toy company the other day. Nice. What was the pair? Do you remember? Oh, do you remember what it was called? The short. Okay, that was a long. Short play off of Bitcoin was if the market ends up falling down to 19,000. Okay, that push up hopefully doesn't mean that it broke above the counter trend line break. I'm looking at where it is right now. Uh, mm, 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 mm. It looked like it might be breaking up. Might have to take this one as an early exit. VLCN, VLCN. What was it? Oh, 19,800. Stop loss was 20,050. Take profit was all the way down to 18,920. Okay. So there goes two orders on Bitcoin right there. Now I'm gonna be because y'all stay here and because people end up popping in off of this live stream. I don't literally post these out as ideas unless we're already in the trade and kind of going from there. The only reason why I do that is because y'all stayed and actually watched. Doesn't make any sense to be able to just keep on posting out ideas if you're not gonna end up watching the live stream. Um, was up pretty good in the morning, then the market dropped. Okay, let's see. Bam, let's go VOCN. I'm guessing NASDAQ. So, look at that U-turn. That's a beauty. Okay, so from a weekly high, it's unbroken above this area. At least it's done tried. My only thing that I would kind of look at and kind of be afraid of, and I said the same thing when it came down to um, most of the markets, is that we are in the sell zone and um, we're getting close to the market basically doing a transition trade with the weekly being in the sell zone, with the daily being in the sell zone. There could be a potential of the market basically starting to be able to fall. Now, that's from a weekly perspective. You take a look at it from a daily perspective, you see that the daily's in the sell zone as well. So the question would be, is this market going to end up basically rejecting off of that and really kind of breaking to the downside and kind of forming something like that? Or is it going to remain to be out of this $3.01 area? You got in at 216, so that means that you're pretty good when it comes down to the move. You kind of had a counter trend line break. Um, I guess the question, I'm pretty sure, are you holding this for a long time? Is your plan to be able to hold this for a long time? Or is this a quick play? Steve, just let me know the answer and I'll kind of keep on rolling. So, well, yeah, if it rejects and goes back inside of the consolidation, then absolutely. Um, that'll be the thing that I would say with that. Obviously, we'll take a look at it from a 2 hour perspective. There goes your outer trend line. Here is your inner trend line. Well, no, there goes your inner trend line. Here is your innermost trend line right here. So it hasn't broken a counter trend line break. So what I would end up saying is, truly, if it breaks a counter trend line break, then obviously that would be one of those positions where, yeah, you need to go ahead and go ahead and make a move. It's a new company. Well, if it's a new company, then I would just look at being able to hold it. Um, I mean, obviously, if it breaks below $1, then it'll end up being something different. But if you're looking at being able to do this from a long, if you're trying to say this is a long-term hold position, then I will hold it. Now, obviously, if it breaks below the counter trend line and then after that starts to pop back up after the fact, then I'll look at being able to add on once it breaks out of this consolidation area. I wouldn't look at being able to add on. Well, no, I'll still go back to my rule. Um, if it breaks below, I wouldn't look at being able to add on until the market ends up breaking above 295. So this kind of dollar cost average from that overall area before doing anything else like that. But no, I think you're in a great position. I think that you might just go ahead and look at being able to ride it out. But just keep in mind, if it does reject, then that could allow you to be able to kind of think about something different. But it has some strong potential from a daily perspective if it does break out. Because you're going just based off of the lows, it could go up to 718. Um, and you end up getting some type of a rally, good news along the way. Yeah, gotcha. And plan sounds sound. Yeah, so I don't know. I might have to look into that one a little bit more. And typically, I end up doing indexes and everything else like that, but it'll be something that I pay attention to. All right, so just to kind of recap and kind of talk about everything that's been going on, I'm going to do this rapid fire. US 30 ended up getting into a sale, closed out on that one. Um, just earlier, the market ended up going to 31,360. That was something that we ended up talking about. We ended up talking about in the first session in the morning, but the Academy group actually ended up getting the actual signal when it came down to this movement. So if you want to be a part of the Academy group, please make sure that you just type in me and inside of the private message area, just type in email. We can talk about the webinar and everything else to be able to talk about what we end up doing from that. So that was one for one. DAX, we end up getting in when the market ended up hitting the top of this overall channel. We seen that it rejected. When it ended up rejecting off of this point and gave us a counter trend line break, we ended up making a move on it. Our entry was at 12,965. Stop loss was at 1,300. Fell all the way down to, um, ended up falling all the way down to 710 that we was looking at. Um, we ended up getting out of the first position, got out of the second position just a little bit earlier. So um, may end up getting back in if there's another opportunity, but kind of we already done took profit on that one. That was our biggest win today. Nas, um, our biggest win throughout the whole week has been Nas. End up getting in at 12,440, 12,380, and then after that 12,393 on those trades. Um, Both of those end up hitting take profit today. It ended up giving a continuation once again type of movement. Good breakout, good retest. So it gave you two chances to be able to get in. Then after that, the market ended up falling. And then after that, XBX 500 ended up getting into it when the market ended up breaking below this overall point. Since then, the market is still in this overall move, expecting that it could go to 38.50. So we end up getting a signal to be able to stay in. But if the market breaks above this overall high, I'm going to take a look at the 5 minute when it comes down to that. If it breaks above this swing high right here, then that might be something that we have to be able to consider about maybe taking an early exit if it's not playing the way that we like it, or the way that it should be doing. So There we go. 5 minutes in the sell zone. We'll see how that kind of plays out, but we end up going from there. You like what we end up doing? Please make sure that you end up clicking on that boost button. Make sure that you end up tapping into some of the social media and everything else that we end up doing. I end up having fun with y'all when it came down to being able to have the communication. Hopefully, you can be able to bring some other people in, and hopefully, it's 9 o'clock session to start, being able to ramp up a little bit more, being able to fire out some stuff. We have some ideas, obviously, on Ethereum, on Bitcoin when it comes down to movements with that. Hopefully, this XPX 500 trade will kind of act right for us. And we're going from there. But like always, plan your trade, trade your plan. Everyone, I'll see you all in the morning. Take it easy.